you looked at it just based on humans.
Oh! Brett Cooper is literally a woman, dog. That's it. Uh-oh. By the very nature of being a woman in the United States of America, she got it. I'm saying it. Brett Cooper liked Barbie.
Joining me on the line is the incredibly wrong Brett Cooper.
Oh, fuck? Dude, it's just, what is happening? They're milking this shit so hard. I almost don't want to fucking watch it because they're just like straight up milking it. There's no fucking shot.
Yeah, she's the host of the wildly popular comment section, and also a fan of both Greta Gerwig and the Barbie film. So Brett, I have to ask you, you're sitting there wearing, for those who can't see, a pink sweatshirt and a hat reading "Make America Hot Again." And I have to ask you, you apparently liked the Barbie movie.
I enjoyed it.
And so I'm wondering if maybe you saw another movie, but you thought it was the Barbie movie.
I did not. And you know what? And I watched your 43-minute review, and you made a lot of excellent points. And I told my audience that, and I told them that you made excellent points because you were right about the plot. It was not the greatest film in terms of its construction at all. It was very, very messy. But you can't deny that it was fun. It was colorful. It was a great time.
Oh, I can.
I know. I shouldn't have said that. I know you can deny it. Do you like musicals, Ben? Do you like musicals?
I do love musicals.
We've talked about that.
In fact, I know musicals. Yes, you and I have talked about this.
I
love musicals. But in order for a musical to be good, it has to have more than one song, and that song has to be good. And the other song that they use is just a rip of a 19...
Okay, first of all, I'm Just Ken was a banger. Shut the fuck up, Ben. What the fuck do you know about musicals, you bitch? Also, of course, Ben likes musicals. God, he's so lame. But yeah, that I'm Just Ken was sick.
90s rock song.
He's not wrong, though. I think that it is set up like a musical. It is set up like a musical. However, there wasn't enough musical pieces in it. And I think if Ben is saying that, then, you know, I think that he's not wrong. I'm not even kidding. I think that it was, like, it lends itself to being a musical. Like, it definitely was, like, created for a possible Broadway show as well. And I wish there was more musical pieces in it. For sure. What is this? A musical has songs that are for the plot of a movie with songs aren't a musical? No, I know. It is not a musical. The Barbie movie is a movie with musical sequences in it. However, I think that it was made so that there would be a Broadway musical that comes out of it. For sure. There's no way they made that dance sequence in the I'm Just Ken piece, like, and they're just going to leave it like that. There's no shot.
Song.
That is true. I read about that.
There are two songs. There's one that's like a rip of a 1990s rock song, and then there is a large-scale musical number that is just basically rammed in, sort of like Singing in the Rain, where they're like, we have to have a musical singing sequence. We're just going to ram this in here. And so they basically do that with the Ken dolls, and all the Ken dolls are dancing around, and in a song that, by the way, Brett, I challenge you right now. You have a beautiful voice.
Okay.
You liked this.
Yeah.
Sing me the song.
The one where
sing it to me. Sing me the song.
Ken, oh no, I am Ken. That was basically all I remember, to be fair.
That's disgusting.
And I truly said it was
not a good song.
But it was, I enjoyed watching it. It was silly. It was one of those films where I went in and I was worried about it because I had seen so many people be upset about it. And I was like, ugh, okay, whatever. And you know what? They spent $150 million on advertising, and that advertising was great because you know what? I was bought in. And I truly did think that it was like an escape in a lot of ways because it felt totally different than anything I'd seen in a while. It kind of reminded me
I can't believe I'm agreeing with her.
Which was objectively much better than Barbie, but in the same way that it was very, you know, out of this world and colorful. And I think I had just missed seeing something that was bright on screen because you go and you watch movies and TV shows these days and every single one is dark and dreary and sad and depressing. And it was just nice to sit around people who were laughing and having a good time. My producers came with me. We were laughing our asses off. the audience was so excited, and it was like, wow, this felt really, really cool. Like, there was that one moment, and I don't know if you'll get this part or not, but they were joking about like the anxiety-ridden Barbies, and they were talking about like the real world women, and they were saying, oh, she's just lying in her bed watching the BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, which is my very favorite, and objectively, it is the best adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. The entire audience filled with women.
Yeah, that's called good writing. You feel seen because you're a woman. And no matter how misogynistic you are, that's the whole point. That literally it. That's it. That's why Barbie's good. Okay, unless it's good because it has something for everybody. It has something for children. It has something for adults. The only thing it doesn't have is for seething incels. You know what I mean? That's it. So if you watch it and you experience it and you enjoy it, then yeah, the movie, it makes sense. That's the whole point. It was made for that purpose. It was not made with Ben Shapiro in mind. And I also do think that Ben secretly loved the shit out of this fucking movie, and he's just hamming it up specifically for clout.
Burst into laughter, and everybody was like slapping their boyfriends, being like, look, it's me. Like, I watched that. And I think that that's just a very cool shared experience. Now, regardless of whether the film is going to win any awards or what.
Conservatives are so funny. They're literally like explaining what the art that is relatable is, like, as though it's a new concept.
Whether it will be acclaimed, because it really is not the most high quality film. I think it was cool to be able to sit in an audience with a bunch of women who were just enjoying laughing at this, because it did speak to a lot of very feminine things, which I think is good in itself.
Okay, so a few things. One, yes, it's very colorful. The production design is the one thing about the movie that I said was good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the production, to be fair, I did say in my review, like at the very opener, that the production design is good. But also, it's really hard to screw up a Barbie production design because literally the entire production design is Barbie.
That's true.
Right? I mean, like, it's just a big dollhouse. But put that aside for a second. There were, to me, about 5 laughs in the entire film, none provided by Will Ferrell, by the way, and none
Oh my God. The movie was fucking funny, dude. Jesus Christ.
provided by Kate McKinnon, who are the 2 comedians in the film. And then obviously the politics of the film
Not necessarily
are
wrong.
completely screwed up. I know
He's not necessarily wrong about that. Will Ferrell was like kind of funny, but Ryan Gosling fucking owned. Okay? He's not even fully, like, Will Ferrell was funny, but Ryan Gosling was objectively funnier.
there's a bunch of now Straussian esoteric readings of the film where Greta Gerwig's actually secretly conservative and she's actually critiquing feminism. But no. I mean, no. Like the speech that America Ferrera gives about 2/3 of the way through the film.
That's so cringy.
In which she explains how rough it is to be, it is the most cringy thing that has been put on screen for probably 10 years. It's unbelievably cringy. And the entire kind of notion that the patriarchy is ruling all. So first of all, I will point out at this point that you say you went with all your producers and they were laughing their asses off. So either our producers are incredibly well matched to our shows, which is quite possible, or they are all suppressing their actual feelings about the film on one side or the other. Because I also went with my producers.
Jobs correctly.
And aside from Zach, who slow clapped the America Ferrera speech,
no, he did not.
Everybody else, I will say, he did. He slow clapped it in the theater. It was really funny. But that was the funniest thing that happened actually in the theater was Zach slow clapping the America Ferrera terrible speech. But yes, the politics of the film are completely askew because the entire basis of the film is that the real world is a complete patriarchy, so magically patriarchal that Ken learns from it and goes back to Barbie land, where he then applies the patriarchal standards of the real world to Barbie land. And the only solution is that to create paradise is that men and women must be separated from one another and cannot actually have interactions. Now, I do think that Greta Gerwig can't actually hold this thesis because the thesis is unsupportable. Like the underlying.
What is he saying? What did he watch? Did he watch a different movie? What the fuck? I have to rerun that. What did he say? What?
And is that to create paradise is that men and women must be separated from one another and cannot actually have interactions. Now, I do think that Greta Gerwig can't actually hold this.
What the fuck did he watch? That is definitely not what happened at what part? I'm so glad I watched a movie before watching Ben's fucking dumbass review because it would have like I would have been watching a review for a different movie. Like, what happened? Was he just like sitting there so mad that he was hallucinating an entirely different movie or something? What the fuck? That is
Thesis?
never a point.
Because the thesis is unsupportable. Like
Yeah, he's like, I made up Greta's thesis, and guess what? Newsflash, it's bad. Possibly because I made it up.
underlying message of the film, ironically enough, is actually very conservative in the sense that everyone is deeply unhappy.
Yeah.
Right? Barbie is deeply unhappy in Barbie Land. Ken is deeply unhappy in Barbie Land. Everybody is deeply unhappy. In the real world, everybody is deeply unhappy. There's no actual family in the film, right? The only family is the mom and the daughter.
Yep.
The mom is unhappy. The daughter is unhappy. And the dad is basically absent. He's there. He's in the film for literally 5 seconds. They can make a throwaway joke about him not being able to speak Spanish.
Yep.
And the final image of the film, which is Barbie going to the gynecologist because apparently she grew a vagina, which, I mean, first of all, super transphobic.
weird.
That apparently what made Barbie a woman was the growing of the vagina, right? I mean, that's literally what happens. The very end of the film, she goes to the
The
gynecologist.
end of the film is
Now,
awful.
what-
It is terrible.
Yeah. Famously, trans women believe like that women do not have vaginas. Like if if you say that women have the capacity to have a vagina, that means you're transphobic. Thank God for famous trans advocate Ben Shapiro, which, by the way, which is really funny because like there is a trans person in the movie. Anyway,
Okay, so
Yes.
the beginning of the film is terrible because if they wanted to make a true critique, here's the thing. You can't make a true critique of Barbie except if you say that what Barbie actually is a commodification of femininity and a reduction of femininity into the purely physical. And that requires you to then ask,
no, you're saying Barbie wasn't a real woman until she got a vagina? Yeah, I know what he's trying to say. It's still stupid. 1, there's already a trans Barbie in the fucking movie. 2, women have vaginas. So it's not all that crazy for Barbie to grow a vagina. That's not all they have. But, you know, she was a doll and now she's a person with a vagina. This has nothing to do with trans people. Even the most like brain broken, extremely online trans person that is like a cartoonish depiction of trans people from like 2016 would not actually say this is transphobic. Once again, conservatives are the ones who are not able to find like a trans person that will say this in the real world, so they just make one up themselves.
okay, what else is a woman beside a man? And then the only answer to that would be, you know, like getting married and having kids. And that's the one thing they can't do because at the very opener, they throw that away.
Yep. They smashed the baby doll.
So the real question is like, right. So the real
There is no way Ben is saying that a doll predominantly played by young girls is not like being marketed to them as though they're fucking. There's no way, right? I thought that was like no sex talk with children, right? Like, I wonder why the Barbie and Ken don't actually have like romantic and sexual sequences. Let me think about this a little bit.
real question is, what are they saying that women are? Because at the end of the movie, Barbie goes from being, it's Pinocchio. She goes from being plastic Barbie to real woman. But what is real woman? And their
They
answer
don't
is a
know.
vagina.
Well, they
Which,
don't
by the
know.
way, again, super transphobic.
Well,
Right.
I think that they.
Yeah, no, she's developing sex organs because she's human. This is not like you're the one who's adding additional seasoning to this.
They don't know. And I think that was part of the plot that felt not very thought out because it was all up and down. And I absolutely agree with you that everybody was unhappy. And that was one of the more endearing parts of the film for me because, you know, Ken found that, you know, this patriarchy that he brought into Barbie Land or whatever was not actually fulfilling. And that was not actually, you know, fixing anything in his life. Barbie was not happy once
But
she
Brett,
had seen
you're
the
wrong.
real world and had,
But in the real world, it is fixing. I love patriarchy.
you know, then restored matriarchy in Barbie Land. And even after that had happened, she wasn't happy. And I think the most endearing part for me, even though the ending was way too long and the part with Ruth Handler, who's the creator of Barbie, was very, very weird. That white room was very, very odd. But I did think it was endearing that even after the perfect matriarchy in Barbie Land had been restored, Barbie then chose to go to the real world, which is apparently a patriarchy. And I think to me as a viewer, I looked at that and I went, oh, she's choosing like the human experience. She's choosing to live in a world that maybe is not perfect because our world is not perfect. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know what your take is on that, but I walked away from that even though the ending would drug on for way too long. I left thinking, okay, maybe that was something that was kind of redeeming that I could, appreciate. Also, with the American Ferrara or America Ferrara speech, I watched that and it was so cringe and so contrived, but which it was. But I don't think that everything that she said was wrong if you looked at it just based on humans.
Oh, Brett Cooper is literally a woman, dog. That's it. Uh-oh. By the very nature of being a woman in the United States of America, she got it. Look at how disappointed Ben is. He's like a disappointed father. He's disappointed that at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break, and if you no longer want to see those ads, you need to subscribe. That's what's going on. For $5 or for free.
In general. And that's obviously not the point that they were trying to make. But as I was sitting there listening to it, I was thinking about both men and women listening to that speech and just talking about, the complexities of being human and how, you can't always get it right. And it's hard to know the right things to do when people have expectations for you. And it just felt like a very human speech. And it sucked that they made it all about women and said, it's so hard to be a woman. These are all the reasons why. It's like, no, those are not the reasons why it's hard to be a woman. Those are just the reasons why it's hard to be a human being. So I think they missed the mark on something that could have actually been.
She's coping.
If it had not been a really cringe.
No, you understand it and Ben doesn't. Because Ben is not only a man, but a man who has spent a lot of time not giving a shit about seeing women as like full-blown human beings. The only reason why that sequence comes across as realistic to you is because you've experienced it. Or if you're a man, you have seen loved ones experience it and have learned from it. You can backpedal out of there all you want, but you're, at the end of the day, talking to a guy who literally doesn't believe that women are capable of having wet pussies, okay? Like, this man ain't exactly the target market for the Barbie movie. It's like the one market that is not represented in the Barbie movie in the audience. If you think that it is a medical condition to have your wife's pussy be wet, then this is not for you.
Monologue. It could have been an interesting point for both men and women. So that is where I rest my case on that monologue.
The only solution. So here's my big problem. Because everything is refracted through the prism of a secular feminist outlook, everything in the movie is refracted through that prism. The obvious solutions that are available are completely put aside. Right? I mean, the obvious solutions that are available, which would be like, Barbie treating Ken like a normal human and Ken treating Barbie like a normal human.
Yes.
That's completely put aside because he has to treat her like woman and she has to treat him like man, but only
they're dolls,
in the feminist outlook.
That's how Mattel created them.
Yes,
they're not actually humans.
But if the idea is that...
Oh my God, she's right. She's fucking right. What is happening? Ben, you're like a 50-year-old man getting mad at how dolls are being presented in a fucking movie, dumbass. Oh, I can't believe it. She's still an awful person, but goddamn, she's cooking Ben right here.
The entire idea is that these stereotypical Kens and stereotypical Barbies are stand-ins for what men and women are actually like. They're reductive, but they're stand-ins for what men and women are actually like. Then, theoretically, the solution...
Yeah, that's why there's a real world, stupid. Like, it's not a good stand-in. It's not even a good stand-in for the matriarchy. The original Barbie Land, that is. That's kind of the whole point of the fucking movie, is that shit's kind of fucked up in Barbie Land because it's like not designed correctly. Ken wants something more. Barbie wants something more. What the fuck?
Solution is for them to be what men and women have always been to one another, which are partners, which they decide is not the solution. Right? The end is that Barbie Land ends up being maintained by essentially subjugating the men. Right? The men have to go back to subjugation in order for Barbie Land to maintain.
Yeah, I love that part. I'm not gonna lie. I think that part was really funny. Only because I've now seen how it was received by like the worst people. I realized that the joke that they make at the end, which is like, we will inevitably give all the Kens enough power that women have in the real world. Every single anti-feminist sounds like a fucking feminist. Every single anti-feminist is like, oh, men get the same power that women do in the real world? Well, that's fucking unacceptable. That's bullshit. It's like, wait a minute. I thought shit was fine, brother. What's happening? That's literally just a joke that they just, boom, leave as a button at the end. If society is fine and good and dandy like you claim it is, then the Kens ultimately getting the same. The Kens ultimately getting the same exact fucking power as women have in the real world, and that shouldn't be a problem at all. It's like so stupid how much these guys have gotten mad at this.
And her wanting to, have the human experience, that would make sense if they actually explained what the human experience is. Now, I think Greta Gerwig sort of is trying to do that at the end. I think she's trying to buy back the entire movie in that montage at the end, where it just shows a bunch of moms and daughters and like the human experience and all of this, which I think is, frankly, cheap filmmaking. I think that it is basically her at the very end realizing she doesn't have any sort of message to the movie.
That part made me cry.
Made me cry. Okay, because that's why it's cheap filmmaking, because she literally just gets a bunch of old home movies and she's like, look at the old lady, and the old lady is with her kids, and that's what okay,
I love that part.
If you're oh my god, if you're actually going to make that case, then the film they should have just made.
I didn't think that part was that good, but maybe it's because I'm a man. I don't know.
Yeah,
is Enchanted. Right, that would be the actual plot of the film. The actual plot of the film.
I love that
would be
movie
that Barbie
too.
Doesn't like.
I didn't like that part because I received it as like. I didn't like that part at all because I received it as like them. Like very in a ham-fisted, very blunt way, going, this product that you're fucking consuming, this Barbie, it was a labor of love. It was built to actually show womanhood. You know what I mean? That was like an ad. That was a fucking ad. I was too captured by. I mean, the whole movie was an ad, but that was the most ad-like part of the entire 1 hour and 45-minute ad. The whole thing was an ad. But I thought that part especially, because a good ad is not supposed to fucking sell you the product. Like, even the clothes being thrown, like actual Barbie clothes that you can purchase being thrown on screen, that part was, that part was so blunt that it was kind of a self-effacing joke, right? A breaking of the fourth wall almost. Whereas that final credit sequence was supposed to talk about the company culture, like Mattel, and how Mattel is actually, or Barbie is actually a product that was born out of a labor of love that a woman, a very real woman, and these are her very real experiences. Like, watch how fucking important this Barbie is. That's what I felt like. You are currently agreeing with Ben Shapiro? No, Ben Shapiro thinks it's a cheap ploy to make people fucking emotional. Ben Shapiro is not saying that sequence was put in there specifically to show that like the original creator of Barbie was a real human being that actually made this product in a way that like undermines the rest of the criticisms towards Mattel in Act 1 and Act 2. You know what I mean? My girlfriend's yelling at the screen, you better slow your roll, big guy, you're losing the Barb's law. Then again, maybe I read it wrong. I don't know.
Like Ken, she goes to
the bench scene was a significantly better emotional scene than that final sequence. I almost cried at the bench scene. When the bench scene happened, nice save. I mean, that's not even a fucking save. It's just me objectively telling you how I feel. Listen, when the bench scene was happening, maybe because it's so close to my birthday and I also bear the burden of aging and I'm like thinking about it or whatever. But seeing that seeing that moment was like, it was beautiful. It was sad. It was emotional. God, Margot Robbie's such a good fucking actress, by the way. I thought about my grandmother. You know what I mean? I thought about death. I thought about existential angst. That's good. That's good movie making. Okay? It's movie magic. If a movie makes you feel that way, then it's, you know, it's done its job, right? So that part was beautifully done. Whereas the final sequence, like the cut, I didn't really get that same exact feeling out of that.
Real world. She goes to the real world and she falls in love with a real guy. And yeah, the real world has all.
Wait, that was actually Barbie? Barbara, the daughter of the creator? Oh my God, I didn't even know that. Oh my God. That makes it even more powerful. Holy shit. I didn't know that. Wait, really? It was not? No, it wasn't. It was Ann Worth. It was the original clothing designer, Ann Roth. She is a descendant.
All of its problems, but there's a real guy there who she wants to be with and have kids with, right? I mean, that would actually be a plot to the movie. Instead, we have no idea why she chooses to go back to the real world. Like, what is the reason? What is the reason? Like, apparently, she does have the feelings in Barbie world, by the way.
Yes.
She still has the feelings, right?
Yes.
When she goes back to Barbie world, she doesn't lose the feelings. She still has them.
Well, I think she's
So what's so
gotten
great
a
about the real world?
Oh, I think what's great about the real world is that she has this, well, she started at the beginning of the film, you know, having thoughts of death, and she gets out of the Barbie box, basically, and where you only think about being Barbie and beach and all of that stuff. And she realizes the beauty of being human is being able to feel the wide range of human emotions and being able to have all of these more meaningful connections with people like America Ferrara, even though that's kind of a weird dynamic, but she gets to see what this mother-daughter relationship looks like. She is interacting with real people on a totally different level than she was interacting with people in Barbie Land. She's crying for the first time, which is just a funny scene. But, you know, when she turns to that old woman and says, "You're so beautiful," she's never seen an old woman before. And it obviously is very symbolic, but I think that she's getting a taste of what it means to be human, to not live in these, you know, comical extremes. I don't know. That's my take on it.
Right. But again,
I mean, it also plays into like the whole argument of why she was created, right? Like the creator of Barbara says, like, I wanted you to be ordinary, but also something that was more than that. You know what I mean? Like not just a toy, which again, marketing, but whatever. Let's believe for the sake of the argument that is what the true purpose was, that this was actually a labor of love. Like what she's doing in that situation is like acting out the desires of the creator of Barbie as well by being something beyond stereotypical Barbie. Yeah, they say it was made for her daughter originally. I know, yeah. For lots of kids, Barbie was more than just a toy, dude. Really? Was it? Or did you just eat the dick of fucking Mattel PR? What the fuck? Bro, what are you saying?
Again, the problem that I have with the solution, because I think that you are right, that is what Greta Gerwig wants to do. The problem with the solution is that it's not actually a solution for any of her problems.
Yep.
How does she solve the irrepressible threat of death by going to the gynecologist? The answer is she doesn't.
I know that ending, like I said, it was such a throwaway. It was the throwaway. We can agree on that.
What the fuck, bro? It's a final note to just show that, like, she's now doing the dumb trials and tribulations of what it takes to be a human, including going to the fucking gynecologist. What the fuck? Why is that? It's just a joke that just also says, like, look, she's a human now. That's so dumb. Oh my God. Why is he so fucking mad? God, you are such an unlovable nerd, Ben. Holy shit, dude.
The ending was terrible.
Right,
And it ruined any important or meaningful point that she was attempting to make.
Right. It's like, even if she were trying to go for the thing, she is forbidden by the strictures of secular feminism from going for the thing. Right. She's forbidden the things that actually, here's the thing. The entire movie is about having an irrepressible fear of death.
Yeah.
Okay. So the problem with the entire movie being about that is that you then have to have a solution to that. If the problem of the movie is Barbie has irrepressible thoughts of death, then presumably the answer to irrepressible thoughts of death is some sort of spiritual solution or familial
What movie did? Okay, I don't think Ben watched the movie, man. I'm getting scared right now. I feel like Ben watched a. Did he watch a normal movie? Like, what the fuck? Did he watch like the Christian version of Barbie or something? Is he trying to make an argument that like Barbie needs to find God? That's the only way to solve your fear of death? Is that what he's trying to say? You no longer fear death because you have the afterlife? Bro, there's no shot, man. There's no fucking shot. He's saying this, right? Like, why are they... Why is Barbie not finding God?
Solution or something, right? There has to be an actual solution that is posed. I mean, it's literally the problem of the film. And that is what they say. There's a great book called The Denial of Death.
Dude, the fear of death is not Barbie, dumbass. The fear of death is baked into Barbie from the anxieties of the mother. And that's a unfortunate but normal aspect of being a human. And the mother overcomes it by like solving Barbie's problems and I don't know, unwinding patriarchy in Barbie land and developing a better relationship with her daughter as a consequence of that. And that trial and that structure and that story, that adventure is what leads her to, that story is what leads her to no longer have these fucking existential angst. And that is the meaning of life, is that you don't need religion, you don't need secular feminism or whatever the fuck. You just need things that you experience and camaraderie that you feel that makes it all worth it at the end of the day, even though to be human is to die eventually, to perish eventually. Holy fuck, this movie is not even that deep. What the fuck is going on? I am losing my fucking mind at how, like, it's making me have to, like, exercise brain muscles to talk about a fucking doll advertisement. It's so frustrating. It's like when I have to learn every little thing, every little aspect of like trans healthcare, or it's when I have to learn about like trans girls competing in like swim meets or something. Why? Because Ben has decided he wants to kill trans teenagers. Okay, so now in order to fucking properly combat this kind of misinformation, now I have to fucking learn all this shit that I don't give a fuck about. I don't care about women's sports. It's the same exact principle. It's like he's lost his mind so much that like now I have to really think long and hard about the point of the Barbie movie when the entire thing is just like, just enjoy it. It's a movie. It's an ad about a toy. Fuck.
From the 1970s talking about how basically all human beings are driven by the denial of death, right? That we just move every day in opposition to death. So we create heroic narratives about ourselves and things that we do to distract ourselves. And we have religious experiences and all of this. But they don't even actually present any of that for Barbie. And so the problem is that the problem posed is too big for the solution. Right.
Like,
so
Greta
if you're going to do that,
would never.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to present the problem as irrepressible thoughts of death, then the answer that you...
This is so funny. It's like massive projection. Like, why did the fucking Barbie movie, which by the way, Ben is mad that this movie supposedly was marketed towards children, but it's not for children. Meanwhile, Ben also simultaneously is upset that the movie doesn't end with Barbie finding God, because that's the only way that you can defeat the crippling nature of constantly thinking about death. What a fucking stupid take, dude. He's like, yeah, these little girls, like, why are they not being indoctrinated into the cult of fucking whatever dumb fundamentalist thing I believe? I see why Ben's a failed writer. Yeah, I know.
You and I would give as conservatives and religious people, theoretically, would be probably church, family, right?
Yeah.
These would be like the answers to irrepressible fear of death. Is the way you overcome death is by progenerating and having children and grandchildren. Right? It's not by being an old lady sitting on a park bench. It's by being an old lady who has grandchildren sitting on your porch, sitting next to the grandpa and watching as you progenerate into the future. Right? Like that would actually, that's the part that I feel like she created a box for herself. And because that box was secular feminism, there was no way to escape it, just on an ideological level. And so the movie bounces around there.
Famously, secular feminism means women can't have lifelong partners. You guys know this about secular feminism, right? I mean, after all, it's Ben Shapiro. He is the most important feminist writer of our generation. It's just like, is so stupid. Like, what do you mean? Secular feminism. Like, you can still be religious, godly, have a family, and believe in secular feminism. You fucking idiot. Funny thing is that Greta is married with 2 kids. Yeah, that's why. She's actually secretly not a secular feminist. Because conservatives are the only ones who have families.
And then because it's bouncing around there and because she feels she has to say all these dumb things about the patriarchy and how men rule the world and all of this kind of nonsense, like for all of that, I found obviously incredibly annoying because I think they didn't even, I get angry at lazy. I really get angry at lazy. And this is a lazy film. It is a lazy movie. Like, they don't even bother to do basic exposition of what drives characters. So Barbie is driven by something, but we're not quite sure. She has irrepressible feelings about death. But that's supposed to be cured by her seeing America Ferrera, right? I mean, that's the whole idea at the beginning. She's going to go there. She's going to rectify. She's going to go back to Barbie Land and all the rest. And then she sort of gives up randomly 2/3 of the way through the film. What drives, again, my biggest plot hole is the most obvious plot hole in the entire film, which is Ken takes over. He creates Kendom and for some reason decides to have a popular referendum on whether or not to take over. If it's a fascist patriarchy, why is there a vote?
Yes.
If you come back in and you seize all power, why are you then providing?
Dog, first of all, only men are allowed to vote. Secondly, it's not that serious. It's a Barbie movie. What the fuck is going on? Guys, I'm sorry. Ben, the reason why your movie did $800 in the box office on its first weekend and this movie did 300 million or however much it made, okay, on its release weekend is because these guys, for all of their other faults and failures, know how to make an entertaining piece of cinema, whereas you, on the other hand, don't. And there is no better demonstration of this fucking reality than his failed screenwriter ass being like, well, why isn't this the Passion of Christ? Why is this not the Passion of Christ? What the fuck is going on? I'm not joking, no. Yeah, it grossed, Terror on the Prairie grossed $804. Yeah, I'd be fucking mad too. But I also, if that was what had happened to me, right? If I was like a failed screenwriter and then I like created this like entire anxiety riddled vice signaling media conglomerate, okay, with oil baron money, and then finally was able to like force dick my fucking stupid screenwriting ideas onto the big screen and have people act on it, and then it grossed $800, I would literally kill people that said I was a screenwriter. I would be like, what movies? I've never seen one. I would move so far away from the genre of cinema, whether it be criticizing it, whether it be fucking watching it with my own 2 eyes. I'd be like, I've never seen a movie in my entire life. People would be looking at me like, what? Didn't you write a script? Shut the fuck up. I've never even seen a movie. Fuck you. Like, if that is the abysmal embarrassment that is your career in movies, maybe shut the fuck up about a movie that is demonstrably successful. Why does he think, after selling 76 total tickets, thank you, Megaphonics, why does he think he knows how to write better Kino? What the fuck? I could gross more than $800 if I made like a fucking 5-minute movie, okay? That's crazy, man. He is so shameless, dude. He is such, in that way, in that respect, he is such a Ken. He's giving Ken. He is so oblivious and also a beneficiary of patriarchy that he thinks it's all right. Like, no one will ever question the fact that I made a movie that grossed $800, that my entire career starts with my animosity towards Hollywood because they never welcomed my brilliant screenwriting. He is so shameless that after that experience, he's still talking about movies, telling Greta Gerwig how to write her movie.
Providing for a vote
Oh my God,
with
I didn't
48
even think
hours
about
notice.
that. That's funny. That is true. Okay.
It's idiotic. It makes
Sorry, speaking.
the biggest, by the way, my other biggest critique, the Will Ferrell character makes no sense. They just were like, what if we just, Will Ferrell will come and he will do the elf routine and he'll just do that for like 20 minutes and it'll be totally unfunny, but his motivations make no sense. None of the motivations make any sense. Like this is the part that drove me crazy. It's not even the politics.
He's not wrong about this. I hate to admit it, but he's right. Did you ever see him get that interview about his book on Hollywood? Got cooked by grandma? Yeah, it's so funny.
Yep. I was going to say, those characters just felt like they were dropped in there and they were attempting to make a couple of jokes. I did like that one speech where it wasn't even a speech, but where they were trying to be as woke as possible. Like those, because they were, the men running the female doll company and they were trying to, be up to date on the current thing and the progressive thing.
Again, Fred Cooper, a woman. Yeah, I'm willing to bet Ben doesn't think that's funny. Ben does not also, okay, to be fair, I am being a bit ableist. Like, I don't think Ben is physically capable of laughter. So, like, there is that aspect to the story as well. But Ben probably saw that sequence and was like, wait a minute. That is how these woke companies work. This is a documentary.
That made me laugh because it's just normal, corporations, like every Pride Month, basically, that's what they do. And so that made me chuckle a bit. But other than that, it felt like he didn't offer anything to the film. He was just there and it was kind of like a funny montage of him trying to get to Barbie Land. But other than that.
The entire, this goes, again, ironically, the thing that upset me about the film was not actually the politics, because I assume every left-wing film is going to be left-wing. The thing that upset me about the film is that it was a waste of my time. Like, do not be so lazy as writers. Like, the plotting made me absolutely.
This 2-hour movie spawned 2 hours of Ben coverage and now 2 hours of Hasanabi coverage on top of Ben Shapiro's coverage. Yeah, Ben has actually spent more time on this movie in and of itself than the actual sequence of time that the movie is. Like, it's longer than the run of show. That's not a joke. Ben has done, I think, 3 videos at this point. Which is, it spans over like 3 or 4 hours.
Insane. I mean, the fact that they go to the real world, and now we're told by the Mattel Corporation, this is a crisis. Why is this a crisis? Will Ferrell says something unthinkable will happen.
They don't say what it is.
And then what is the unthinkable thing? And they're like, we won't even explain it. I don't know. Something unthinkable.
He's right. That part sucked. God damn it. I can't believe I'm saying it. That was very weak. Not wrong. That part was weak. Bye-bye.
Okay, so now you're just being lazy. Now you're just being incredibly.
Wait, Biden will be impeached 1 hour long. Jason Aldean fires back a woke mob, 8:40. Barbie is garbage, but you're not allowed to say so. 1 hour and 1 minute long. Ben Shapiro destroys the Barbie movie for 43 minutes. Oh my God. Ben Cooper liked Barbie. I have questions. 34 minutes. He spent more time on the Barbie shit for the past 4 days than Biden getting impeached, dog. What the fuck? Now, many of you will say, Hasan, haven't you been reacting to this? Okay. That's true. I have reacted to this, okay? And I covered it from my own personal point of view in the beginning, and now I'm like reacting to their fucking debate because I wanted to see what he was saying. But it's not a joke. Like, this is sad. Okay?
Lazy. Will Ferrell, his character, who's supposed to be driving the plot, right? Because he is the plot device by which they're attempting to capture Barbie and Ken gets to go back, and then they have to, for some reason, they follow them into Barbie Land and all of the rest of it.
Yes. I'm going to do the fucking... I know. The special counsel team alleges that there was a broad scheme to delete Mar-a-Lago surveillance footage, and then there's like all this other shit with Trump.
His character goes something like...
Spoiler alert, chat. Stop.
Like this. I am a man. I run a female-led corporation, and the women have to be put back in the box, literally. Literally, we have to put the woman back in the box because all we care about is profit. Then he's told that the Ken doll is going to outsell the Barbie doll. And he says, no, actually, we are the Barbie corporation. I have to stand up for women. And he makes that flip inside of 5 seconds. And you're like, well, hold up. Are you?
Yeah, Will Ferrell's aspirations don't make a lot of sense. He's not wrong about that, which is kind of upsetting. I hate to hand it to him, I did not F at all. I don't know what happened on you.
Are you the emblem of evil capitalism, like in the Lego movie? Or are you like an actual feminist? What's the deal? And this sort of divide runs all the way through the film. Let's talk about who you trust. Okay? You shouldn't
Don't trust Barbie.
who are at this way. Look at Noah Baumbach's body of work.
Yep.
Like,
But I will say,
to
Ben,
me, this movie is basically like bad comedic version of A Marriage Story. A bunch of self-absorbed people who don't have any deeper values, who are essentially making bad decisions for children.
Okay,
That's basically what.
Bro, Ben is so bitch made, by the way. Like, straight up, he's watched all of these fucking movies, and I haven't watched any of these, okay? I'm sorry. You can't fucking constantly talk about how you're the beacon of masculinity, dog, and like reinforce this false notion of a binary understanding of masculinity. If you're constantly talking about fucking musicals and you watch every Noah Baumbach production and you watch every fucking Greta Gerwig production and then complain about it, okay? You're literally over here chirping non-fucking stop. It's like exclusively reading Jane Austen novels. What the fuck? He's also a Disney adult. It's like, come on, man. Come on.
A Marriage Story is, and I think that's what this movie is too.
did you like Lady Bird? Because Lady Bird is one of my all-time favorite movies.
I
And
think Lady
love-
Bird is wildly overrated.
Oh,
Dude, it's like, this is what I mean. He is like, I mean, I didn't watch Lady Bird. I'm sure it's great. Guys, I'm a misogynist, okay? There you go. I said it. No secret. I like the Ken parts a lot. And also, I haven't seen Lady Bird. And I haven't seen Marriage Story either. Okay? It's coming out. It's the truth. Now you know. He's a Greta hater. I'm not. It's never appealed to me. The Barbussy, on the other hand, was very appealing. I wanted to be a part of the cultural phenomena.
again, as like a young woman.
I didn't hate.
I love that
I didn't
movie.
hate Lady Bird. I didn't hate Lady Bird.
I also love.
And at the very end, again, Greta Gerwig does try to buy back some religion. Again, the out to Lady Bird is the one she doesn't use in Barbie. Right? The out in
The
Lady Bird
religious
is
side,
at
yeah.
the very end. The girl realizes that the value system that she has been pursuing is actually not the right value system, and she goes to church and she
Yep.
calls her mother.
She
right?
goes
That's the
back
very end
to
of the
her
film.
Catholic upbringing.
So
Yes.
she actually.
And
yes,
I also enjoy.
Wait, so why didn't he like it? Seems like a Christian ass movie. This bitch doesn't even like it when it's like a wholesome Christian setting. What's happening? Also, what a fucking stupid way to live life. To just like, I mean, to just like look at every movie on the virtues of like how Christian it is. That's insane, dude. You have no way. You have no fucking way of like consuming shit without seeing it through the lens of how much it appeals to like white supremacy or Christianity. Sorry, I fucking couldn't even write it. Couldn't even say it right. White supremacy. It's so weird. Yeah, I mean, he's also Jewish, which is pretty funny. Like, it's weird. I don't think Radlibs behave this ridiculously. This is quite literally the exact opposite side of that fucking coin of like Radlibs being like, this movie has evil characters or this movie has like toxic masculinity. I don't really like this. Like, you're doing that, but on the right-wing side where you're like, there's not enough Christian representation in this movie. I hate it. It's like, fuck you, man. God damn, we saw what your bitch-ass movies made, dog. $800. Maybe shut the fuck up and let the pros do what they do best, okay? You can eat your fucking garbage slop of Marvel movies all day, every day. They make enough movies for you. You can complain about all of them. You can be like, oh my God, this is too feminist. It's too feminist.
Or at least to a religious background, right?
I also enjoyed Frances Ha, which she and her husband did together. And I think that I also enjoyed her her adaptation of Little Women. I think that the older one was better, but I do love, and I said this at the beginning of my review, I just enjoy Greta Gerwig in general. Like, I remember sitting at a SAG, you're going to hate this, Ben. I was sitting at a SAG Q&A it was some director circle with Greta Gerwig, and I was so inspired that I went home and I wrote her a letter, like thanking her for Lady Bird because I loved the movie.
Yeah, there was a moment, I think, in her mind, Brett Cooper's, I mean, where she was like a normal human being. Maybe even went like far beyond like what normal human beings do. Maybe she was a little too normal. And then something snapped, and that snapping effect was money, I think. She looks a lot like Ben Shapiro. I believe that they fucking hired her so that she could be like she could just pull a fucking bait and switch on us, where like one day she's just sitting in Ben's chair and everyone's like, wait a minute, Ben became a woman? Like, Ben Shapiro? What is happening?
Okay, so you're a fangirl for Greta Gerwig. This is not a fair conversation.
I am, but I will.
Like,
okay, so
you're writing...
I am. That's why I said at the beginning of my review is that I like her in general. But I will say I do not want to see what she's going to do with the Chronicles of Narnia because she's doing the adaptation. She's going to absolutely butcher that. And it's interesting because she keeps having these. I just want to know about her upbringing in a way because she keeps kind of dropping in these religious themes and these more spiritual questions and then never really answering them. And it feels like she herself, Greta, is grappling with a lot of this. I don't know how she was brought up.
She's a lapsed Catholic. She's a lapsed Catholic. She was raised Catholic, is my understanding. Okay. And then she dropped away from the church. And so she's in search of a value system, and that's pretty clear in her work. Yeah. Right? Is that she's constantly in search of a value system. So Lady Bird is really about her. I mean, it's about her.
It is. Yes.
She was not raised Catholic. She was I believe she was a Presbyterian who went to a Catholic high school. So that story is really about her. And so the sort of thing that she is searching for is the thing that she has forbidden from herself, which is to take religion seriously enough to actually take it seriously. And so that's why I think the C.S. Lewis adaptation is going to be a disaster area, because the thing that C.S. Lewis is calling for you to do in Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe is to be a Christian. That is what the book is about. And so her actually adapting that, like I don't see how she's going to adapt that. I mean, there's a lot of critiques of that in Little Women too. Is that there's some Christian thematic in Little Women that actually gets kind of ripped out by Greta Gerwig.
Well, she makes it much more girl bossy than the books actually were, which is unfortunate. I loved the actors in it. I thought it was great, but there was a lot. And that usually happens when books are adapted into movies. You lose a lot of those deeper meanings, which is unfortunate, but especially when they're, yes, exactly. But I really think that's going to happen with Chronicles of Narnia.
Well, I mean, again, what's fascinating about Gerwig just as a director and as a writer is that she knows enough to ask.
I don't think a conservative has literally ever understood a piece of media, to be honest. I mean, maybe that's why they're constantly complaining that everything is too fucking woke, because like they're just so, they require subtlety to be completely devoid of any kind of artistic depiction. You can't fucking be subtle about anything. Like, I'm stupid. You need to like literally tell me what's going on. Okay? And what you need to tell me is exactly what I believe. If it deviates away from that, because like, here's the thing. There are a fuck ton of movies that are made in Hollywood where good characters can be Christian. You know what I mean? Or even like the ending sequence could be that Christianity and finding God is helpful for you. Because Hollywood doesn't give a shit about that. They just care about making money, okay? And reflect the real world. And in the real world, there's plenty of Christianity. There's plenty of Islam. There's plenty of Judaism, right? So ultimately, that is going to be represented. That is going to be represented in and reflected in their art. Whereas for Ben, it's like that's all it can be. It only needs to be reflected. The world needs to only be shown on his boundaries, on what he considers to be good and apt. So Ben, in a lot of ways, is the most annoying fucking radlib you see on your timeline. He's the guy I yell at so much. You know what I mean? He's the guy I yell at that comes in here and goes, "Why are you watching that movie? That movie is quite problematic." And it's like, fuck you. Fuck you. The world sucks dick. Shut the fuck up. If something is moving, if I enjoy something, I'm going to fucking consume it. Shut the fuck up. My consumption of a particular thing is not going to change the world in the way that you think it does. And Ben is doing that, but from the conservative side. And because we're not conditioned into seeing conservatives in the same way that we are conditioned into seeing rad libs, we don't really see it in that way. You know what I mean? We don't really see it in the same way. There is a built-in disdain that we have for the annoying woke scold. But for some weird reason, we do not have that same disdain for the annoying woke scold on the right when they are doing the same thing. Two sides of the same coin. That's what Ben's doing. He's being a woke scold. Like, why does this movie not represent, patriarchal constructs in a positive light? Because I think that that's how society should be designed. It's like, shut the fuck up. You know why? It's because of gender norms wave going on with PUA culture. In pre-1950s Hollywood, there was a code enacted where most themes had Christian elements. He's such a freak that his mind lives in that era.
Ask some of the right questions, but she is forbidden from answering them in any proper way.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like, so that's the thing that's actually interesting about the Barbie movie. I will say that I think it fails because of this. I think it, like, on an ideological level,
Yeah, exactly. Oh, dude, that's a great, dude. Thank you. The woke version of what Ben is doing with Barbie, complaining about how, like, Greta Gerwig didn't neatly wrap up, like, Barbie's existential angst by making her go to church, is the exact same thing that is done on the left side, on the woke side, where someone criticizes Oppenheimer for not showing Japanese people during World War II when it's a fucking historical biopic of Oppenheimer, who, as far as I understand, didn't really meet any Japanese people. And also, the irony there is, what are they going to do? Are they going to show the fucking Japanese people being horrifying monsters in fucking China? Is that what they're going to show? Because it's not like the Japanese military wasn't doing great stuff. You know what I mean? Which still doesn't justify Hiroshima and Nagasaki, of course. But on the other hand, like, what were they supposed to do? Show Japanese people being fucking eviscerated? Lit on fire? Oh, is this what I think it is? God, we are such a fucking hive mind, chat. Oh my God. Here, you want to watch a brutal depiction made by a Japanese creator that is actually for children too? This is literally for children. If you want to know the Japanese perspective of the atom bomb, there is 40 years of media on it, okay? Here, this one is animated for kids. It is one of the most fucked up, one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen. The animator of this survived Hiroshima as a child. Libs will criticize you for your America deserved 9/11 comment, but then say bombing Japan was justified is a sentiment I heard. The difference between my statement about 9/11 is, and which was never about like all of the victims that died deserve to die there. The difference is we created a fucking uncontrollable entity that engaged in blowback. America as a nation state warring against Japan as a nation state is not the same circumstances at all. We were already firebombing the fuck out of Japan on top of this, and that's why Americans will act like, oh, well, to be fair, this was the only way to stop the firebombing campaign when the war was coming to a close. Okay? Not only did we do this, we did it again. Okay? We tested it out, we looked at the fucking results, and then we dropped another one. Just so remember that. We are not the rabid dogs that are those who are motivated by revenge in that regard. At least we're not supposed to be. That's not what nation states are supposed to behave like. That's why you criticize Japanese actions during World War II. That's why you criticize German actions during World War II. Okay? The anime is called Barefoot Gen. It's really good, it seems. I only saw this part. I haven't watched the full thing. Someone was saying that this is like a semi-autobiographical work. But ultimately, the reason why I showed this to you is because people are like, "Oh, why didn't Oppenheimer show this? Why didn't Christopher Nolan show this?" Like, you're doing the same rad lib shit that Ben is doing here about like Christianity.
I think it fails because of this. As I said, I think when you set up the problem as irrepressible fear of death, and then your solution just doesn't exist, like your solution is sort of secular.
Would you argue that the news or blowback for Pearl Harbor? I agree with your take. Just playing devil's advocate again. America is a nation state in that situation that has been warring, and it's incredibly disproportionate, the act of violence in that regard. Whereas America's involvement in the Middle East is what caused directly Al-Qaeda to be created by one of our allies and our assets. The people that were flying those planes were our assets. It is not a comparable circumstance because we pretty much damn near designed the whole circumstance of 9/11. You cannot consider Hiroshima and Nagasaki blowback in a similar capacity. It's not in the same vein as it's not in the same vein as, like, I don't know, liberating fucking the ghettos or Warsaw. Like those are justifiable justifiable actions taken by the Allies in an effort to liberate human beings that were subjugated and were kept in horrifying conditions and like mass eviscerated. Okay. Anyway.
Wrote
Chatter said it
feminism,
was just a flex. It is true. It was a flex.
and everybody's unhappy. Like, I think that she's almost critiquing her own worldview unconsciously. I don't think she meant to do it. Right? There are some people who are doing a Straussian reading where she meant to do this, and that when you watch it, what you're actually meant to take away is that feminism is a failure, and that what you actually need is to get married.
I was about to say, I think most of it is an adaptation. No, I think most of it is an accident that inadvertently she was dropping these things and they're not understanding it. Okay, one question I have. Have you heard, this is going around on Twitter right now, of neo-conservatism? Conservatism?
Oh, God.
Is this the people who are very into the Kendom?
Yes, they are. There's all these men who suddenly feel seen by Ken. And they're like, this is it. This is me as a Western man being so beaten down by women. This isn't an ideal world. This is what I would do. This is my story. And they're painting him as this Greek tragic hero. And, the tragic hero, does all these wrong things, but has no real ill intent because he just doesn't understand. And so he obviously has some moral standing, but he obviously created destruction. And it's all of these guys on Twitter. And I'm not kidding, last night there were so many of these threads and they're like the Ken uprising. And they feel like Ryan Gosling is speaking to him. Also, something that is very funny is that this was, they were trying to create this feminist movie, all of this stuff. The only character that people are talking about also in left-wing circles is Ken. They love Ryan Gosling. I have not seen one Twitter thread, one article about how amazing Margot Robbie is and she's stunning and she's great, but the Barbie character was flat. Like the most endearing character. Number one, I liked America Ferrera and the daughter character just because I like mother-daughter relationships portrayed in movies and TV. I think that's just comes from being a young woman. But also, I just loved Ryan Gosling. I loved Ken. He was so endearing. And I think it's funny that in this feminist Barbie movie, the male character is actually who people enjoy. And so that cracks me up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure that's true. For sure that's true. I mean, one of my critiques of the film also is that is that when Ken comes back, so first of all, all the Barbies are Ken's supposed to be an idiot, right? All the Barbies are like on the Barbie Supreme Court and arguing Citizens United and all this kind of stuff. Ken takes over that place in 5 seconds flat.
Yeah.
Right? In 5 seconds flat, he walks in and suddenly it's Kendom. This moron took over all of the matriarchy in 1 second.
Dude's
1
rule,
second
Ben.
with no actual
Dude's rule.
compulsion. Right? Apparently, we're amazing at everything. We're so good at it that we can mind warp Greta Gerwig to have the men take over the Barbie land in 1 second flat. And apparently, I will say that, again, I think all of these things are accidents, but they are happy accidents, is that all of the Barbies enjoying the patriarchy is one of the best things about the film.
It's very
right?
funny.
All the Barbies for a hot second are like, this is actually kind of nice. Like, we're cheerleaders and like we're bringing men food and we're kind of enjoying ourselves. And they actually have to be informed by Weird Barbie and Company that actually they're miserable.
That's such
which
a weird
is kind of
part
funny.
of the,
right? I mean, first of all, it assumes that it's super weird. It's suggesting women have no agency, really, right? They have to be told by the feminists that they're miserable. Like until then, they were. By the way, that Kendom doesn't even include the part of because it can't. It doesn't.
The entire point is that they're brainwashed and that they are no longer who they are. Like writers, presidents, you know what I mean? They're like brainwashed. that's kind of the point, is that like patriarchy conditions women, including people like Brett Cooper in certain respects, into being willing participants without recognizing the conditions that they're in. It's internalized misogyny. That's kind of the point. And also, it's not even like, that's not shown as a good thing unless you literally think that that's good. What the fuck? I feel like Ben just straight up thinks like, oh no, it was so good. Remember? It was so good when women were doing foot massages and bringing me beer. Remember how good that was? Yeah, that comes at a price. And the price is that the women in that circumstance are brainwashed. I love that Ben thinks that that was an accident. Yeah, he did say happy accident. Like, he thinks that like that was written without recognition. Like that just kind of happened. Like Greta Gerwig wrote that in as like, oh, doy, I'm just a silly woman, so I don't really know. I don't really know, like, how this thing will be perceived. Like, no, again, she didn't write it for you. She wrote it for everyone but you. Reckless Ben update your mention? Who the fuck is Reckless Ben?
Doesn't even include the part of the patriarchy that the feminists actually say is part of the patriarchy, which is childbearing.
Yep.
Right? Because the truth is that a thing that women like to do, historically speaking, is have babies and raise them.
Oh, you watched this video on the cult? Oh, that's the guy? Oh, that guy's sick. Where was the video? Can't find it anymore. Too late.
I know. I'm married to a doctor wife and we have 4 of them. The truth is that a thing that women like to do, historically speaking, is have babies and raise them.
Yes.
And
I know. I'm married to a doctor wife and we have 4 of them. Okay, so it's a thing that women are into. And the women are into the patriarchy even without the babies. So that, like, again, I think that Gerwig, because I think she is a conflicted person, is operating. I'd be fascinated to find out which parts of the script Noah Baumbach wrote and which parts of the script Greta Gerwig wrote, actually. I think it'd be really, really interesting to find, because they would co-wrote the
Doctor
script.
Wife.
I would bet you, and this is not to stand for Greta Gerwig, because again, I'm not a huge fan, but certainly not to your extent. I would bet money that the worst parts of the script were actually not written by Greta Gerwig.
Yep.
I would bet you the worst parts of the script were almost universally written by Noah Baumbach.
Interesting. That's a really interesting take, especially just because
I like this. I like this a lot. Ben is secretly assuming that like the script of this was written in a way that is like, in a way where like Greta Gerwig is this like trad femme who like actually secretly hates feminism, and these aspects of her very nature, because she is a Catholic, or at least seeking like seeking God in a way, and like it's just seeping out. That's why these are happy accidents. That's what must have happened. That's so funny. That's ridiculous. Or you could just like read the movie with a little bit more media literacy, and I think it would come across a little bit different. I can't believe the amount of time I've spent on a fucking baby toy. Fuck me. Oh my God. Oh, ay, ay, ay. In the master-slave dynamic, I am the slave, okay? This is like, I have to react to the reactionary commentary. It's like, as I live and breathe, you know what I mean? As we like almost turn on our 3rd fucking hour, I can't do it. This is just a toy movie. At the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. This is the best content you've done in weeks. Thank you. I think so too. I think like my goal ultimately is to entertain, and making fun of Ben's oblivious Barbie understanding is entertaining, I think. Holy shit. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Of her track record of struggling with these questions. And obviously they were in there. The other thing with the Ken and Barbie relationship that you just talked about, where the women had to be informed, that also makes me laugh, because that's basically what happened with feminism in our world. Like, women were very happy, and it took other women to come to them and say, no, you are actually very, very miserable. So once again, I think it's an accident, where I was kind of laughing at it, because like,
that's how it happened. Yeah. Women were really happy. That's why they used like Visine to poison their husbands because they couldn't get out of marriages, like the one that like Steven Crowder and his wife Hillary Crowder were stuck in. You know what I mean? Famously, when you think about the 50s, in my mind, I immediately think of how happy women were back then. That's what I'm thinking of. Also, again, same with black people, like way happier before civil rights. I mean, seriously, everybody knows this.
Okay, yes, this is exactly what happened, and I chuckle at it because it's so obvious that even though to me it is obvious that could be a commentary on our world, I'm sure she was not intending it that way because she thinks that she's actually saving these women, which of course is what feminists actually think. So I think you can spin it 100 different ways, but there were a lot of, as you say, happy accidents in there that definitely made it more enjoyable because the movie was chaotic. There were obvious plot holes. But it was silly.
It's a mess.
But it was silly and it was fun. And my point in doing my review was that I had a lot of women writing to me saying, like, I feel really bad because I enjoyed seeing it. And I was like, you don't have to feel bad about enjoying a fun movie. Like, there obviously have been better movies. And, Oppenheimer is probably much better. I'm seeing that this week. But you don't need to feel bad for enjoying a fun movie and enjoying shirtless Ryan Gosling doing a dance number.
Two things. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about that.
I know.
Two final points I want to get your comment on.
Okay.
Apparently, I unconsciously even dressed like Ken. So this is a thing. But that was the meme that was going around. Is that I was wearing the Ken outfit. It's a black jeans and black shirt, guys. That's
your Halloween costume. You already figured it out.
Exactly. We're done. So two things that I want to get your take on, because these
unconsciously, sure.
Actually, I think are fairly one. They're kind of the same critique.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this movie aimed at? If it's aimed at young women, again, I think the messaging is wrong, but okay. But one of my problems is that when I went to the theater, there were moms bringing like their 8-year-old girls.
Really?
This is not an appropriate movie for kids who are under 14, 15 years old minimum.
No, it's not.
Right? It's just not. I mean, it's got a bunch of jokes and references.
Yep, I did.
Who cares? No, I mean, it's PG-13, which means like with parental guidance, it's totally appropriate for someone under the age of 13 to go and watch. And I hate this kind of conversation because, like, on the one hand, part of my mind is the mind of an old man who goes, yeah, maybe they shouldn't watch stuff like this. Well, not with the Barbie movie, but like, I have a cousin. He is 13 years old. And I have been a big advocate for him to play God of War because he's currently perma-stuck playing Fortnite and Madden, which is very cringe. Okay? And I want him to have similar experiences that I had in my childhood where I enjoyed a broad swath of incredible fucking video games that were absolutely rated R and rated mature. And something that I was not supposed to be playing under the legal standard, right? I like on the one hand, I think about it from the perspective of like, what is it too young to play these sorts of games or to see certain things? But on the other hand, I'm like, well, I was fucking 13 at some point, and I definitely did all this shit, and I think it was perfectly fine, and I would want to do all of this stuff and experience all of this stuff. So I just, I don't know. I feel like it's ridiculous to get like upset at a parent bringing their 8-year-old to watch the Barbie movie. But I also don't know if I have the best understanding of this kind of thing because I personally think an 8-year-old could, watch a lot of shit. And enjoy video games and whatnot. Nah, 8 is too young for that movie? Why? Why would this be a traumatizing experience for an 8-year-old? The Barbie movie is PG-13 for a reason. You realize that like the Marvel movies are PG-13, right? Like, you think an 8-year-old can't watch a Marvel movie? Yeah, instead show the 8-year-old that atomic bomb anime. Okay, that might be a little too much for an 8-year-old, potentially. I think it's perfectly fine for an 8-year-old to watch a Barbie movie. It's ridiculous to get upset about that.
I did not think that it was marketed towards young people, but I am also like children, but I also am not fed that kind of marketing. I don't have kids. I'm not 8 years old. I'm not on that, part of the internet. All of the marketing that I saw, all the advertising that I saw, the people who were talking about it were all women ages 21 to 30, I would say. That seemed like the target audience.
The reason that I say that is because the previews. The reason I say that is because so let me ask you this. What previews were before the Barbie movie?
They did not offer a lot of the plot. It was very, very hidden. It was just colorful, fun, jumping up and down.
No, I'm not asking about the previews of Barbie. Right. So I'm not asking about the previews of Barbie. I'm asking when you went to see the Barbie movie, what were the previews that came before?
Oh my gosh. The only one I remember.
The previews that came before the Barbie movie in the theater I saw it in was the Timothée Chalamet movie. I can't remember any of the other ones. No, it wasn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it wasn't... Oh, Blue Beetle. Yeah. Or maybe I missed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it was Blue Beetle and Wonka. Which, again, not exactly for just children.
Is Trolls, because I have a couple friends that love the movie Trolls and Trolls 2. I think that's the only one that I remember.
So I'm sure you saw the same trailer reel that I did, because all the trailers were driven at children. All of them, right? It was Trolls 3.
That's not true. So 13-year-old movies? I mean, are we pretending R-rated movies are not advertised on TV? No, the point he's trying to make is that, like, the movies that came before it, like the previews, imply the target audience, right? And he's trying to say that the previews imply that the target audience are like little babies and little children, and it's inappropriate for them to do that because the movie's inappropriate for children, except the movies that came before the Barbie movie and the previews were also PG-13, and with the same standard logic that Ben is applying to Barbie, he should also be very offended at the prospect of those movies being shown to children as well. But he won't, because he's trying to make a fucking dumbass political point. Anyway.
That is such a good point,
And it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Right? So they're clearly, they think that this market is for 25-year-old moms and 6-year-old daughters, or rather 35-year-old moms and 6-year-old daughters.
But to play devil's advocate.
That is...
To play devil's advocate, do you think they ran that trailer reel because they knew that regardless of how they marketed, regardless of them saying this is PG-13 and them saying, it's...
Ben, I don't think Ben realizes, as a dad, I'm sure he's seen plenty of like Pixar, Marvel, Disney movies, right? And one thing that happens consistently throughout all of those is that they hide jokes for adults in all of those movies. So there's something that the parents can look at and laugh at too. A lot of times those jokes will go over the child's head. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about here. Like,
because I watched an interview with Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie, and they were talking about how, they created this for women, and they were asked if kids could go see it, and they're like, I don't really think that they'll understand it. Do you think that they were worried, like that the theaters were worried that moms were going to bring their daughters, and so they went ahead and just made it family friendly? Like, I don't know if I would put that on the production team. I would put that more on audiences wanting to bring their daughters to a Barbie movie.
I think a lot of little girls are going to go watch this movie, and there isn't really anything bad in it. I think this is really dumb. I'm done. I'm done with this part of the conversation. Let's get to the fucking real news. We're done. We're not watching the 43-minute video. I'll fucking die. Brett Cooper has decent takes when it comes to profoundly unimportant shit like the Barbie movie. Yeah. Little girl in front of us asked their parents why they were laughing at the beach off. Oh, that's pretty funny. What? Really? Yeah, Ben is contradicting himself with this argument. The fact that all the previews were targeted towards children would imply that Barbie's perfectly fine for children. If the previews for Barbie were all adult targeted films, then that would bolster his argument that Barbie was clearly not for children based on the previews.